Hello and welcome Racine Unified School District parents. This is your Savvas Realize tutorial for parents. We're very happy to have an opportunity to share a little bit about um, the Realize platform. And by the way, Savvas Realize is the platform that your students will be logging into through ClassLink. We'll get to that in a moment. And it's where the assignments that any parents, any teachers push out to their class or their students will live. And so we wanted to take some time today to share some information with you as parents to help you help your children get logged in and be successful on the Realize platform. Before we go any further, I do want to take just a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Hunter. I'm a senior ed specialist with Savvas Learning Company. I have been with the company now for 19 years or so. It's been a great ride. I love what I do, and I'm very, very happy to be with you today and to share some information that I believe will be very helpful for you. So what are we going to cover? Let's look at our agenda. We're going to talk about logging in, what that process will look like for your children, how your students or children will access their assignments once they're logged in, how they'll submit those assignments, and then if they needed to access the full EText, not, they maybe don't have the print copy in front of them, or they left it at a friend's house, whatever, they can still bring it up digitally online. And so I want to be sure you know how they can do that, how they can go and browse course content to review and study things that maybe have already been covered. And then if they take a test on the Realize platform for the course they're in, how do they see what their grade is? So viewing grades. And then we'll just touch on quickly how to log out. So with that, let's get started. Our first topic up is logging in. Now, the website that your children will go to is www.rusd.org. And you are probably very familiar with that site. It is the Racine Unified School District homepage. And that is where they can access a link to a sign-in page. So I'm going to go out to that website right now and show you where they access that link. And there we go. The homepage has loaded. And it's very simple. Right here near the bottom right of that front page is an online technology button or link. If your child clicks there, they will be prompted to sign in to what's called ClassLink. And it'll just ask for a username and password. And I don't have one for a Racine USD student, so I'm not going to go there, but your students should be provided with a username and password that they can use to log in there. Now, once they've logged in to ClassLink, they'll probably see a number of icons or tiles on the screen. To get to Savvas Realize, they're going to choose the Savvas Realize icon or tile. That should take them right in. No more username or password needed at that point. Now, if it is your student or your child's first time logging in, they'll come to a page that looks very much like or exactly like the one that you see here on my screen now. It's just going to ask them some basic questions. What language would you like the website to display in? There are only a couple of options here, English and Spanish. This is not going to be the content or the curriculum part of anything that shows up. It's just going to be the kind of the navigation buttons. And so most of them will probably leave it on English. Then they get to kind of edit or tweak the profile that they have a little bit. So I'll choose, for example, the basketball as my profile icon. And then they get to choose a background image. And I need something a little bit more on the relaxing side today. So I'll choose the dock overlooking the sunrise or sunset, whichever one that is. And then they'll come on down and click Let's Go. All right, now I have set up a demo student. It's actually under my nephew's name, Anderson, and I've assigned a few different types of assignments to this student, this demo student, Anderson, just to give you an idea of some of the different types of assignments your students might receive, and then, of course, how they access them and how they submit them back to their teacher. So for your children to access any assignments that have been given by their teacher, they'll start by going to classes. Now they can access classes using this red dot dead center of the screen, or they can go to classes here at the top. Both of those take your student to the same place. And then you'll see on the next screen that Anderson has 5 assignments. They're all listed here that he has not started. There are 3 tabs though. In progress and completed are the other 2, and there are none under those. So that means he has all 5 of these to get started on and to complete. So I wanted to assign different types of resources or assignments to Anderson so that you can see kind of a variety. The very first one, this all comes, by the way, from one example course, Miller and Levine Biology, Chapter 1, Lesson 1. But keep in mind, it's going to be so similar across all the courses that your students might receive assignments in that I just stuck with one theme for my demo. This is a lab, so I'm gonna, as the student, again, as your child would, click on that lab activity, analyzing data, what's in a diet, and then it's gonna bring me to a screen where I can click that again, that same assignment one more time, and it's gonna load. Now this just so happens to be an activity sheet or a lab sheet that the student needs to fill out, complete, and turn back in. So how do they do that? Well, got a couple of options. First, they'll need to download it. So they can hit the download button here in the top right. And I'm going to pause my screen while I bring that up. So once they've loaded the downloaded document, they then have edit rights to the document. I'll just click enable editing here. There we go. And they have a couple of options. They can fill it out just by typing into it and complete the work that way. I should put in my actual student's name here, Anderson Go Forth. Whoops. And they can put in the class, the date, 08, 27, 2020, and then begin to work on the assignment. Get out of that header down here. There we go. And so now I could begin to answer. All right, so this is filling it out on the computer, and then they could save that document, save it up, give it put it into a particular spot on the hard drive, and once they've done that, then they can attach it. I'm going to close the document. I don't want to actually save any of this, and come back over to Realize. When they are ready to turn it in, they can go here to exit. And because they're needing to attach something, they can go here to the top right to attach file, browse out to the file that they have completed on the Word doc. And then when they've got it attached, turn it in. Okay. That's the first option. The second option, and I have seen many students do this, they're very savvy with technology, is they will print it out, do it paper pencil simply because they prefer to do that type of work paper pencil, but then take a picture of the document, the paper on the desk, and attach the picture of the file right here, and then turn it in. So once they've attached the file, they must click Turn In. That is the trigger. That is the thing that sends it back to their teacher as completed. So I'm going to click Turn In, assuming, pretending that I have finished that lab sheet and I've attached it. So then I'll turn it in. It gives me a warning. Be sure, if the teacher, after you turn it in, the teacher will not see additional work you complete. Okay, that's fine. I'm done. Yes, turn in. So now that assignment is marked as completed, and I can just go back as Anderson, the student, to assignments, and I'll see that I have one item. That lab is now under the completed tab, and then I still have the 4 that I haven't started on. Now, another type of activity that you'll see come up as an assignment in your child's Realize login is an interactivity, and they usually are represented by the hand with the pointer finger up. That means that that activity is going to have some drag and drop in it. There would probably be maybe even some video in there, lots of photos, and they'll be clicking on the screen at different points and doing different things, and then even answering some questions. So let's take a look at this one just to get an idea of what I'm talking about there. So I'm going to click on the interactivity science methodology on the scientific method. And so now what we're seeing is a screen where you'll notice that, we've got an image, we've got some information on the screen. If I click the screen, it takes me to another image where I'll then be given more information. And so the student or your child would need to move through these slides on the first page. So there's several slides, but keep in mind, look down here, we are on the first page. So I'm going to continue to flip through as the student, read the information, take notes as I might need to. And when I have finished all of these, nope, I don't want to start over. Let's just assume I've read them all. I know what I've got here. I'm going to say, no, I don't want to start over, but I'm going to go to page 2 now. Aha, all right, more information. Hypothesis versus theory. Some more information on that. You scroll down to see it all. Just some of the basic, technology, navigation, scrolling, clicking, and so forth. So it looks like this is all that's on this page. Assuming I've read and understand that, I'm going to move on to page 3. And here I have something that looks a little bit different. So each interactivity is going to have different types of activities to do in them. And this one, I have a little introduction kind of slide down here. And it's basically telling me to apply the steps of scientific inquiry to determine the cause of the heavy algae growth in this pond. And water can be sampled and mixed with chemical reagents. I'm not a big biology guy, so I'm not going to get into the details of this, but I did kind of work with this activity a little bit. And essentially what the student is being prompted to do is click here on this first number 1, and you're like, okay, here's some data on this pond on the left. I wonder what they're going to have me do with this data, so I better make note of it. Here's the number 2 telling me this pond is in a natural setting, an undeveloped area. The ecosystem is in balance. Okay. And now I'm going to click on the number 3. Okay, here's some more data. It looks like there are higher numbers here across the board. So I wonder what the 4th one is going to be. And here we go. A large farm is located uphill the second pond. The farmer regularly adds fertilizer to his fields to maximize plant growth. So we're beginning to get the student to think about what might be causing the algae that you see floating here and down, and the debris that you see down, and lack of life in this pond versus the one on the left. So without getting into too much of a biology lesson, I want to move on to page 4. Okay, here's somewhere that I am supposed to read and form a hypothesis. I'm just going to type in sample answer for now. Assuming that I correctly answered that, I'm going to move, or the best I could, I'm going to move on to page 5. Now I'm supposed to conduct an experiment, move the slider to see the results of the experiment. Okay, here's my slider. And I see a change. So then describe the differences. Again, I think sample answer looks good here. Oops. Now, as the student moves through the interactivity, they're going to want to do everything on all pages. Here's what I mean. So look, I'm on page 6 right now. I have not answered the question. If Anderson wants to check his progress to be sure that he has credit for all 6 pages, down here at the bottom right, I can see there are 6 pages. I can click on this green check mark and I will have a check as Anderson for every page that I have completed. So this type of activity is during the learning process, during the study time. And so it's not going to be graded for accuracy. Obviously, sample answer wasn't the answer to those questions, but it is going to give me credit for doing it. And as you can see here, since I haven't done the 6th page, I don't have a check. So your student and Anderson would not turn this in yet. Make sure that he visits page 6 and chooses an answer. And I'm just going to choose something here. Oh, come on. Hanging up on me. Oh, come on. Let me try that again. There we go. And I can check my answer. Oh, not quite. It gives me a chance to try again. Try again. Try B. Not quite. It's actually C. So on the second wrong answer, it will tell me the answer to the question. Again, not something that's normally used to assess, just again in the learning process, kind of in the experimental stage of this type of lesson. So now if I revisit my progress, I'll see that, yep, I got it wrong twice on page 6, but I'm getting credit for the page because I did the work. So I'm going to turn that in. Are you sure you want to turn it in? Yes, I'll turn it in. And then I'll get a confirmation that the work has been turned in and I can exit that activity. And wouldn't you know, now I have 2 completed assignments, 3 not started. There's a third type of resource that may be assigned, and that could be just a simple video. So we're not going to watch the entire video together, but what I do want you to see is how does the student send back to the teacher, I've watched the video. How do they turn that in? So I'm going to click on this video on bugs in the home, fun one. And I'm going to click again. And here we are. So I could start the video. I'm not going, well, let me start a little bit of it so I get credit for the page. So I'm going to play.
Okay, today's episode is about bugs. In fact, bugs in your home.
All right. So now I can check my progress. It looks like, oh, there's 2 pages. Wait a minute. Let me go over to page 2. I've got a question to answer here. Sample answer. Now let me check on my progress. Okay, good. I've got a check. I'm getting credit for both pages. I'm going to turn it in. So I'm going to turn that in and turn in again. Work has been turned in. Okay. And exit. So that's how, very similar to an interactivity, but with videos, they must at least start the video, and hopefully, you'll be there to kind of make sure they watch the whole thing and help them to navigate a little bit to get things started. Take a little drink of water here. Just a moment. 2 more types of activities that you may see in your students' assignments. One is an EText, the other one is a quiz. We're not going to spend a ton of time on a quiz, but I did want you to see what those look like. The EText icon that you see, if it's under an assignment, what that means is that this is just an excerpt, just a few pages from the textbook, the student's textbook. we'll talk about in a moment how they can access the full EText. So if they receive an assignment that has the open book icon, that's just, again, a portion, a few pages of the EText. So we'll click there, click it again. And this is, again, from that same chapter, same lesson, and this just so happens to be a lesson review. This is something that a teacher might assign to have the students complete before taking the lesson quiz, just to kind of review what they have learned in the lesson and get ready for the quiz. In all of our eText areas or anywhere the eText loads, there'll be a reader that will read the words on the page to the students.
Lesson review. Key ideas.
There'll also be opportunities for the students to take notes in their notebook. So let's open here and just say, in your own words, define the term science. Okay, I'll say the study of, I'll just make up something here, the world around us and how it works. Something like that. Oops, period. Now, before I can even get down here to close this, it gets saved automatically. So they can edit it, but as they work, it gets saved. They don't have to remember to click save every time they type something in. They can close that up and then go on to the next question, you write it in the notebook and so forth. Also, there's a menu here in the top right where they can take general notes and just a not a answer to a question notebook, but in the notebook in general for this assignment. And then there's also access to the glossary. So they could look up a word, or let's say, for example, hypothesis. They could come down to the H's and then there it is. And then they can have it pronounced and the word and the definition read to them. All right, when they have completed and fully filled out the eText pages that they've been assigned, notice that this one only looks to be one page. I don't have a page turner down here at the bottom. They can then click on Turn In. This time it's a button, not a green check. They'll click Turn In on the black and white button in the top right. Turn that in. And there you go. That has now been submitted back to the teacher as completed work. Go back to assignments. I have one more assignment to do, and that is to take my lesson quiz, What is Science? So I'll launch the quiz. All of our quizzes look very similar. Of course, the questions will be different, but the format is the same. They can start the quiz. This one looks like it's 5 questions, and I'm not going to try to do very well on this. I'm just going to do it so that we can get a grade or a score. So this is a drop and drag where I'm supposed to be dropping the tiles at the top into the correct spot in this scientific method flow chart, if you will, or cycle. All right, so I'm going to say, all right, done with that one. Move on to the next page here. And this, notice this type of question says choose all that apply. And that's typically, a sign that there's more than one correct answer. The boxes to the left always signify that they can choose more than one. If they see circles to the left of each possible answer, that's a choose only one type of question. All right, again, drag and drop. And I'm just randomly doing this. I'm not reading the question, just for demo purposes, turning something in for us. And let's see. Yep, another drag and drop. All right, and then I'm going to hit next. That's going to take me to the page that's kind of like the review page. I could go back to any question, adjust my answer if I wanted, and once I submit the test, that's going to be the final. So make sure you've answered all the questions before submitting your test. Then click Submit Test to turn it into your teacher. That's our note at the top. I see I've answered them all. I could go back and check, my work if I wanted to, and then I'm going to submit the test. Now, I'm probably not going to do very well on this. Be prepared. I'm going to hit Submit Test. Oh, I got 30%, third correct, about a third correct. Now what I can do is see what I need more practice with, quite a bit there. And then I can see the questions that I got incorrect. I got partial credit for some of them, such as the drag and drops, where there were multiple, possible answers for different parts of the question. See there, I got partial credit. It shows me, yeah, this one is the one that's correct. All these others were wrong. So I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm done with that. I'm going to exit. And the system will, if the teacher selects the option when assigning a test or a quiz, automatically assign remediation or additional practice. And so we see this new assignment because look, all 5 of the ones that I have turned in as Anderson are under the completed tab. But because I didn't perform very well on that quiz, I got an automatic assignment for additional practice for what the quiz covered. So that is 2 of our topics, or that was 2 of our topics, accessing assignments and submitting assignments. Next up, I want to show you how your students can access the full course EText. They forget their book at a friend's house, whatever, and they need to bring it up digitally. I'll come back to the main page. All they have to do is go to the same area, classes, either here at the top or here, and over to the right. You may have missed it when we were here earlier. There's the Miller and Levine Biology Student EText. They can click there. It will prompt them to open in a new window. It's actually a new tab. I'll show you that by not going full screen for a moment. You'll see I've still got Realize back over here on the left tab. And then my reader, which opens the book, is on the tab to the right. So one of the things that is a little bit of a shift away from the traditional way of working in a book is the EText is not going to be, the student's not going to navigate by page number. They're going to navigate by table of contents and what chapter they're in, what lesson they're in. So for example, if the students are trying to get to the pages on chapter 1, lesson 1 of the Miller and Levine biology book, they'll go to the menu, they'll click table of contents. That will load. There's chapter 1. I'm going to expand that section using the triangle to the left. There's lesson 1, what is science? I'm going to expand that section. And then any one of the pages here I can click on. Let's go with science, change, and uncertainty. And there we go. So we have that same format with the reader, the audio reader, answering questions in the notebook. And there's a few more features to the full EText that you won't find in EText excerpts. And so let me show you what I mean here. If the student says, this paragraph is really important, they can highlight it by just dragging over it, and then it'll let them highlight in whatever color they want, or circle, or underline. I'm going to leave it on highlight, and I'm going to type in a note. This is really important. Save that up. And now, anytime I need to get back to that note, I'll show you in a moment, I can do that as a student, back to that highlight in that note. Also, if I want to bookmark the page, I can do that. Let me just choose a different page for demo purposes. I'm going to go to another page here. And if I wanted to bookmark the page, I can click this little bookmark icon right here. I also have a print option. So I'm going to bookmark and save that page as something I want to come back to. Maybe that's where I finish my reading for the night and I need to pick up tomorrow night right there. All right, so that is navigating, highlighting, bookmarking, adding notes. To get back to any of the students' annotations, highlights, or bookmarks, they'll just go back to that menu and then they'll have an area where they can go to bookmarks. There's that page that was bookmarked today on the 27th, or they can go to annotations and highlights. And there's my highlight and my annotation. This is really important. I can click on it and it'll take me right to where I made that highlight. So that's really, really nice. A great way for students to study and keep notes, and things that they need to go back to, refer back to. They also have an EText notebook where they can make notes on the page that they're on. It gets saved by the page that they're on. And also to the glossary, just like we had in the EText excerpt. All right, so I'm going to close up here and let's head back over out of the reader back to Realize. So let's say I'm done looking at the EText. I'm going to exit. The next topic is how can your student, your child, browse content to go back and review maybe last month's chapter. They're going to be taking a semester exam, for example. If they're on this main page and they go to browse, not classes, they go to browse. I'll go full screen for you here. Now what they have, I'm going to click on the list view. I prefer the list view. There's a thumbnail view. If your child prefers that, they can keep it and go back to the thumbnail view if they want. But just to keep in line with the example we've been doing, chapter 1, lesson 1, I don't necessarily have to have the assignment video Bugs in the Home to see that video or to do or review that lab. I can come back under browse and look anywhere in here. The only types of activities your student doesn't have access to without being assigned makes sense. Things like test, remediation, enrichment type stuff that's not for every student or is not for every student all the time. And so they do have access, though, to a lot of the same resources to go back and review and study. So that's browsing course content. And then our next topic is how they can view their grades. So you'll see here, it tells Anderson he has 5 assignments, including tests completed. So I'm going to go to grades, or I could go here. And then right now, it's telling me that it looks like that my teacher hasn't assigned anything, but it says your date range above does not include your assignments. Okay, so your student may need, and the assignments I made to this student as a teacher were due next Monday. So I'm going to push my to date out to say next Tuesday. And there we go. So now we've got my test score right there on the screen. In the first category of data, you're going to see test scores. So there's my test score. Anderson can click on the bar graph. He can get back to that page showing what he needs help with and how he did on each question. The second category of data or grades for the student is going to be progress. What that essentially means is out of everything that my teacher has assigned me, what have I completed, what's still in progress, and what's not started. And so you can see I have all 5 of these assignments complete. There are none past due, none in progress, and none not started. That's the 2 categories that you have, our student has in terms of grades. So the last thing that I wanted to be sure you know about is your students, when they're done, they should log out. And it's a very simple step. They can go here to the little man icon in the top right and choose the sign out option. And then, of course, they will be done at that point, at least until their next session back on Realize. So I want to thank you for watching the video today, the tutorial for parents. Let's just review what we've covered really quick, and we'll be done. We talked about logging in, how you go out to your district's website, go to online technology, and your students will use their class link, username, and password to log in. Then they'll be able to get to Savvas Realize, access their assignments, submit assignments when they're done. Be sure they do that. If they don't turn it in, the teacher doesn't get it back. It may just be sitting there as in progress and the teacher's thinking they're still working on it. How they access the EText, we looked at that from the classes area. How to browse course content, to go back and review and study, and maybe even look ahead if I'm an advanced student. How to view grades as a student, and then how to log out when they're done. So finally, and again, thank you for your time. Have a great school year, and please, by all means, let your school know if there's anything that Savvas Learning Company and we at Savvas can do for you in the future. Have a great day.